Well, hello YouTube. Uh, it's about the middle of the night in my place, around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, and I can't go to sleep, so I said I'll just make a video. Probably tell a little story about myself and my first encounter with computers, or was a computer. I was a young boy, about the age of 5 or 6. My uncle, who's my father's brother, he works in an electric company. He's like an electrical engineer. He brought one time a little computer, an old type of computer. That was way back then. I think it had a keyboard, a screen, and I think that's all there was really to it. Um, so he came with a computer one time to our house. My dad was in the United States of America. He really wasn't home, and he put this computer at our house. He left it in the balcony. I went inside the balcony and I started playing around with it. Like I wasn't fascinated. I was too young to be fascinated, and to even know what it was at the time. I didn't know anything about computers. I was just a little young boy, and started playing around with the keyboard. I like pushing the buttons on the keyboard. Which was very unique. I really liked it a lot. I think I even damaged it a bit. I don't recall. I might have taken some keys out of the keyboard. So that was like my first encounter. My first encounter ever with any computer, really. As I got older, I moved to the United States of America, and I was around the age of 7 when I moved to the United States. Uh, Never really got to know what a computer was all the way up to like elementary, when they were teaching us in elementary how to type on the keyboard. They had this little program that tells you what button to press, and you have to have your hands on certain keys on the keyboard, and they were teaching us that. And at the time, I was too young, not that young, but young enough. Um, I didn't know what I was doing. I never got it. I never ever got it back in elementary. I didn't know what they were talking about. I probably didn't even speak English much. So I was just probably an ESL student at the same time as my regular class. Yeah, things were different back then. Those were good times back in the 90s. They really were good times. It was a much better world than what it is today. People were very nice, I swear. They were really nice. I remember my teacher in the elementary school. She was a really nice teacher to me. Yeah, those were really good times, though. My second encounter with computer was I think we were making a SOM was some kind of graphical environment. It was my tech class, I think. That was in high school, and we had to draw some and produce an animation from what we draw. And I remember I didn't have any clue at the time still exactly the full power of what computers were. They're not as powerful as what they are today, but there were still some back in the year 2000, I think 2002. And I remember drawing a stick and a ball, and I got the ball to move around following the stick or something like that. And I was the worst person in that class with computers. Like everybody else was doing something really fancy enough to be considered, good. Yet my idea actually was really the teacher was really keen to it. He really liked it. He gave me an A right away. Yeah, I guess even if you don't learn exactly what the 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 technical knowledge to do things and the creative knowledge to like produce things on these technical entities. Um, I think sometimes the mind just if you're born like that, I guess the mind just is able to allow some kind of creativity. I remember I was in that class and I didn't know what to do, and the teacher was asking for some, so it's not like I came up with some right away and I'm like I just do anything. No, it wasn't like that. I actually thought about it. I'm like, um, I thought about it for a bit, and the only thing that was in my head was just to make a stick on the ball, and the ball was following the stick as it was moving. And that was as close as I ever came to like producing some with a computer application back in the day. Um, my other encounter was a computer, which was like my third, or I think I had a previous encounter. Was we had this computer in another elementary school in the United States, and they had this little game on the computer, and it was just pixels like boxes. Basically, that's what it was. I won't say what kind of game it was, but I really enjoyed that game, and we had it in shop class. It was it was actually shop class, and where we do stuff with woods and all that. And that's what I remember it was called. It was called shop class. We do stuff with wood, like we build a bookcase or some kind of closet or cabin, and we used to do stuff like that in elementary sometimes. And they had this computer on the side, and sometimes in our leisure time, like when we weren't really doing anything, we would take turns playing games on that computer, and I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was really uh, phenomenal. It was. Uh, After that, when I grew up to start working, I had bought my brother a Macintosh Mini, and I was really fascinated by that Macintosh Mini, especially the game that was on there. I was more fascinated with the game. It was a really cool game and really cool graphics on that game on that Macintosh Mini. And at the time, it wasn't like I was comparing computers that I was on and the new era of computer evolution and production. I wasn't like that. It was just in general life, you just carry on what you do, normally not paying attention to like the you know the value of things and how they change in the new era of these technological innovations that came along. So around the time I got my high school diploma, um, I was really into mathematics, like algebra, calculus, trigonometry, geometry. I was really into that stuff. Um, I wanted to become some kind of mathematician to some extent, and I never did reach it. Actually, I never did become a mathematician. I was really good in math, extremely well. I was capable of thinking a lot of hard uh, or producing very advanced mathematical thinking, or my cognitive ability was very advanced in mathematics. I remember those days. I was really good at math, and yeah, it's just I haven't been studying math. I came around a few times, to study math sometimes and try to pick back up on it. But life always has its way, and you never get to do what you want, really. So in 2017, 2000, early 2017, late 2017, I don't remember, somewhere around 2017, I began. Uh, I began to be introduced to programming languages. And my first programming language that I looked at was, I think, C++, then Java, then C, and then many more other programming languages like HTML, CSS, and PHP, um, MySQL, and certain things like that. Uh, I looked a little bit into web development and downloaded VS Code when it first came out. Actually, I think it was back in 2018 when VS Code came out. And at the time, you didn't have the extensions like wouldn't automatically detect your compiler and your environment. You had to write certain text in some kind of file in VS Code to get it to detect your compiler or to get it to. Today, you just download VS Code, you download the extension, and that's it. You don't need to write any special code or any special script or any special anything to get your compiler to work with VS Code. Or VS Code, vice versa, VS Code to work with the compiler. Yeah, and I always had a hard time trying to get that stuff to work with VS Code. But nowadays it's much better actually, and I could pretty much do it if it was still the same way back in 2018. I have more insight into programming now. I even have more insight into certain programming concepts. And I'm not talking about like OOP and procedural programming and I have a vision like of programming languages and how to write programs. Yeah, so 2018, I started to begin learning, and I wasn't trying to learn the language as much as I was trying to learn how to think about the language and how to understand the languages that I was reading about. Yeah, I spent around in and out 5 years since 2017 all the way up to like 2022, in and out, uh, just reading about programming languages. And whatever got my attention, I was like reading. Um, So I have enough concepts of programming languages to be able to think through it. I do. And this channel was really, a long time ago, was dedicated to just me teaching C and C++. But then I said I wasn't going to do that. So I kept the channel on. I never really deleted the channel. I kept it on ever since I actually opened this channel or created this channel. Yeah. It's been lingering around for ever since. And then I made a new channel called Terminal Man, and it was actually doing pretty well. It wasn't doing bad, and I was very dedicated um, to study the programming languages that I want to study. That I was gonna, share my experience and my journey with these programming languages. Some just came up, and I was like, I'll just close the channel. Like 3 weeks in or 2 weeks in, some comes up, and I'm just gonna close it, and I did. And then I was like, I'm just gonna sit and study and be solo, and then I kind of missed how well it was going on my other channel. Yeah, I did. I missed it. I was like, wow, I was doing so good, Uh, I didn't. I didn't like it that I closed that channel. So I didn't want to open up another channel. That's why I came back to this channel, and the same concept, the same inception that I had for Terminal Man. I'm gonna renew it on this channel. That's what I'm gonna do on this channel. So this channel is going to be my journey in the C and C++ programming languages, and not only my journey but my experience and how I'm going to learn and the difficulties it will take to learn these programming languages. I'm going to share that with you on YouTube. But I'm not gonna be. If when I get real good at it, I'm not gonna be sharing you know uh, profitable. I don't speak English every day. I'm not gonna be sharing ideas that can make profit. But other ideas that even if there are no ideas that are not really out there. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind sharing that with the programming community. I would. I would really much like to share some stuff with the programming community. You guys see me a lot expressing my thoughts on this channel as I try to code and learn how to code using those two languages. Somewhere down the line, I'm going to be going to other programming languages, and I'm going to be sharing my experience also with those other programming languages. But that's way down the line. I mean, I'm really dedicated to C and C++, and to get to know the standard libraries for these two languages. It's not an easy thing, especially for C++. And then to move into the standard template library, that is not an easy thing to do. And to learn and to succeed in becoming proficient at it. It's gonna be hard, yo. But I am willing to move into that. Yeah, I'm gonna move into that. So yeah, this is my journey into the C and C++ programming languages, and I just want to say one thing. I see sometimes people talking about uh, you can learn programming languages or be a programmer or some kind of engineer in like 3 months or 6 months. I don't know about that. I don't. I mean, I since 2017 have been trying to stick uh, to being somewhat knowledgeable enough in programming languages like C and C++, especially C and C++, to be able to be like capable of writing an application, uh, a well designed architectured application uh, that has good architecture. And it's not easy. It's not. Even becoming proficient at one programming language is not an easy thing to do. There is no such thing as learning a programming language and becoming a software engineer in like 3 months or even 6 months. Um, I think people have tried that and they come out um, believing that they can be software engineers in that limited amount of time. Um, because after all, programming is just problem solving, most of it, right? That's really all it is. It's just problem solving and understanding the basics of it, and you know the language itself to be able to use it. But in 3 months to 6 months to be a software engineer, you know, to be an actual engineer in some kind of other technician or technical field, it takes about 4 years of college, doesn't it? Um, to learn a human language takes about 2 years to 3 years. To be fluent in a human language, right, takes that much time. Imagine learning a language like C or C++ and calling yourself a software engineer in 3 or 6 months. Not very uh, practical, not very convincing actually. Because I tried myself to learn a language. Uh, it took me about 5 years to begin understanding good enough the language itself. Yeah, it is not easy to learn a language in 3 months to 6 months. You might learn it by memory. That's true. You might memorize it, but can you comprehend it? Yeah, you see, in 3 or 6 months, you might memorize it easily. Like if you go to Italy and someone tells you, and you go for 3 months in a class, and then you learn some words, you learn some sentences, you learn some grammar, and you're still not gonna be proficient in that language enough. You might memorize some words, but you still, if you don't understand the language and comprehend it, you won't know how to use those words. You might memorize how they're used, but and it might take you to some extent, but it's not like knowing the whole language, like living there all your life and just being fluent in it. That actually takes years. Yeah, it took me 5 years to start understand. Like when I first began in programming languages, no clue. I just kept reading, in and out. Like I would read for 2 months into it, and then stay like 5 months not reading anything. I would another 2 months or another month or 2 weeks, and sometimes 2 days, and then skip like 5 months, and it was like a long journey. But to have full comprehension of a programming language does not come in 3 to 6 months. It just simply doesn't. Not to mention, to be able to solve problems in a programming language, you need to practice thousands of times to be able to fully write a good code, good application or a good web page or a good program. Yeah, you need to practice a lot. It's not easy. I one time was sitting and I read 2 chapters into a book in C++. And then I came to the section that was asking questions to revive what I read in the chapters. So I was asking questions, and then it was like, write a program that does such and such and such. And I was stuck. And I read the chapters, and it took me a while to try to get it, and I didn't actually I wasn't capable of writing that program. Just wasn't. Real world problems are not solved, especially in programming, are not solved overnight, unless you're a real pro. You have experience with it. You dealt with it before. You have some knowledge in it. You have made mistakes many times and came about to realize what your mistakes were and made sure you don't do them again. You can think this stuff through. You can figure it out. You can figure out when something doesn't work and how to make it work. That takes years. So that's one thing I want to say. One of the reasons I speak about this is because there's a lot of people out there that think and believe that they can become software engineers in 3 to 6 months. And that is not true. Just like you might learn some words in human language, and you just memorize it. So you said this word means this in English. So when you use it, you just put 2 and 2 together, and you speak that word, right? And it's through memory. But to fully comprehend the language, you need way more time and practice. Yeah, another thing though is that the times we live in today is really amazing. With all this AI and machine learning and new quantum chips that are coming out. That's really we never had this before as the human race, right? We never had any of that stuff before. Some like which brings me to another thing. You all heard, and I don't want to give, but everyone already heard them. The Y-0 one chip, right? Everyone's heard of that. And you want to know something about me? I actually believe them. Like, I got nothing against the company, or I'm not in favor of the company. It's like I'm just neutral here. I'm not for the company or against the company. But what they did, actually, I don't think that's fake. I don't think they would, a company like that, with its reputation on the line in such an extensive and fierce competition between other companies, would come out and make something so foolish with such a bold claim like they did, and it wouldn't be real, right? That's the reputation of the country depends on that. This new state of matter thing might actually be true. Back in like the 60s and 70s, some programming languages out there that came out and back then were never fully realized to their full potential because the programmers at the time never quite understood what this programming language was, and they were more easy going towards other programming languages, because it was much easier to learn, maybe, right? That's a fact. And the other programming languages, just because they were not easy to learn, even though they were much better if you use them, in production, yeah, would have been much easier once you learn it. And this kind of the same idea was the Majorana one chip. I think they did make it to that, because you gotta say, like, come on, they're gonna come out with BS chip, right? A BS chip, like, sometimes the engineers, the scientists, the people who work on this kind of stuff understand better what they're talking about than what we would understand what we're talking about, from the products these scientists and engineers produce or bring out into the market or into public view. They might have a better idea of what they're talking about. Um, that's just my opinion of the Majorana one chip. I think they did do that. I think you should, like, take two looks at it, and look at it twice or three times. Um, you also have to consider Microsoft is a very rich company. They have enough power and wealth, to be able to produce such a chip. It's not it's not something that is impossible, especially when they come out and mention stuff like that. One, they're not going to go BS the whole thing and fool everyone to some, if it's not real. They will lose, CEOs know, people know, and the people can think. And when this thing comes out and it's not capable of doing what they claimed it would do, you know, it will be damaging to the company. It will be damaging to the reputation of the company. People will find out sooner or later. So, based on my perception of that it's not what we think it is. Like a lot of claims that are made about the Marijuana One, these claims that it's not true. I tend to think otherwise. Yeah, actually, I think they did achieve it. And imagine how great it would be if they actually did achieve it, and I think they did. How great it would be for us as the human race to have come up with, I think it was a million qubits. It was a million, right? It wasn't 1,000. It was a million. Uh, and later on, someone might take that marijuana one chip. I was telling myself, if that marijuana one chip doesn't make it, it's gonna be so worthless. It's gonna be so cheap. I would buy like 100 of those if I have enough money to buy, 100 of them. I believe they actually reached that, stage of, new matter, a state of matter, right? That's great for us, yo. That's not bad. Not only that, there's the competition itself is so fierce between these companies in the industry. Is so fierce that it might be getting overlooked. I've seen people on YouTube, other creators on YouTube who spoke about the Majorana one, and they give their opinions about it, and I kind of disagree with these opinions because one, they wouldn't BS the whole thing. They're BSing us, all of us, right? If it's true that it's all baloney, right? They're BSing all of us. I don't think that though. This is such a powerful company. It has such a powerful reputation. Maybe its operating system hasn't really made it big. Through the recent years because there's a lot of bugs in their operating system, and it really is not much of an achievement if you consider today's standards, right? Um, Okay, so that's all. That's my opinion about the Y-1 chip, right? And I'm gonna stop talking here and leave it that way. So up until next time, take care. Have fun and goodbye.